Hello, everybody. Welcome to the third session of our webinar series on Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform. In this session, we'll begin by discussing how you can use Power Platform to help automate your business processes. So as a review, this is part of a 4-part course. This is the third session, and we're teaching you how to build business applications using the Power Platform basics and fundamentals. So hopefully after listening in on this course, you can go set up your own environment, build your own business applications using low-code capabilities, automating all those business processes, and then enriching your business data with AI and analytics based on real-world scenarios. So without further ado, let's kick it off and meet the team again. So for those of you who haven't been with us yet, I'll put myself live. So hello, everybody. My name is Kelsey Bloomquist. I'm a solution architect on the ISV success team. I help guide ISVs in their business application journey as they digitize their applications, and I help from the engineering side give tips on how to use the Power Platform, how to use Dynamics 365. And so I'm excited to be here today to help guide you through this 4-part webinar. I'll kick it off to my partner in crime, James, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Sure, thanks, Kelsey. Hi, everyone. My name is James Bamford. I'm also a solution architect on the ISV Connect team. I also work with partners and ISVs to help them architect their solutions and get them ready to deploy to AppSource. Also excited to be here today, and yeah, let's go ahead and let's look at what's going on with with this session today. So just to go over some series expectations, as we mentioned last week and the week before, this series is not only to teach you how to utilize Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform to quickly build business applications, but to show you how to turn great ideas into impactful solutions. Again, this series is for the citizen developer who is getting started creating business applications, to the pro developer who is looking to minimize and automate tasks, and really everyone in between. And today is definitely a great day to be a pro developer, because we'll show you how to automate a lot of really awesome business solutions and make things really easy for you. So we're going to show you how the Power Platform can provide a simple method for most users to create, automate, analyze, or assist their data in ways that which have never truly been possible before for the average worker. So today, we're going to talk about Power Automate and Power Virtual Agents. So we'll start off with a overview of Power Automate and all the different automation capabilities that it has. We'll then move over into an overview of Power Virtual Agents, and we'll talk about how you can use it to build a virtual bot. And then finally, we'll bring it all together and we'll do a demo that utilizes both of them, both Power Virtual Agents and Power Automate. So we're going to build a virtual bot where again, utilizing our Lamna Healthcare example from last week, we're going to build a virtual bot where a patient can request for a refill on their medication. All right, so with that in mind, let's go ahead and let's go start talking about Power Automate. So when we look at Power Automate, Power Automate is the automate of the 4 pillars of the Power Platform. So of Power BI, Power Apps, Power Virtual Agents, and Power Automate. So this is where we're going to be to basically take all of our mundane business processes and automate them to help make our workforce more efficient. Okay, so when we talk about native integration, this is really the path to maximum efficiency. So Power Automate offers a range of functionality from triggers and native integration with the Microsoft 3 clouds to build data with CDS, and it's really a holistic automation platform. So when you combine it with Microsoft's other cloud-based applications, it offers a fully integrated platform across Azure, Dynamics 365, and Microsoft 365, and of course the Power Platform. So all these apps and services are natively integrated with Power Automate, so that way IT decision makers who have needed controls to ensure data security and app management, they have those. So in Azure, it has the native integrations with Azure API management, Azure Functions, and Azure Logic Apps to empower more technical developers to extend capabilities of Power Automate to more sophisticated and technical applications. You can use things like Azure Active Directory to build in the most secure and integrated cloud services with Azure AD, and that's from citizen developers to professional developers. For Microsoft 365, you can streamline business processes by integrating apps and automating workflows across the platform, including Microsoft Teams. And you can also automatically automate routine tasks and processes between your favorite apps, set up custom notifications, synchronize files, collect data, and much more. And finally, for Dynamics 365, which we're going to be looking at more closely today, Power Automate's great for things from either dispatching field service technicians to invoice processing. It allows you to really automate processes across the entire suite of Dynamics 365 first-party solutions, and also whatever you decide you want to augment with that inside the Power Platform. So using things like Power Automate and, of course, Power Virtual Agents, which we will look at today. So we think about Power Automate, it's really designed for everyone. It really is designed for ease of use of businesses or department users, for the growing citizen developer community, end users who understand the business and really want to solve their own problems, to professional developers who use code to unblock complex requirements and have a need to reduce time to develop and deploy. And of course, the IT admins and professionals who are looking to automate mundane IT functions and find some automation that offers both security and is compliant with the rules and regulations that their company may have. So, what does Power Automate offer? Well, it offers automation at scale, really allowing everybody in the organization to automate workflows using their favorite on-premises and cloud-based apps and services. It's seamless and offers a secure integration that gives you the confidence to empower users with more control and frees up IT resources for more strategic work. It helps accelerate productivity, minimizing repetitive, manual, time-consuming tasks and creating more time for you and your teams to drive your business and plan for your company's future. So in short, it's an intelligent automation that combines intelligence with automated workflows through embedded AI and integrated legacy applications. And it's really all one automation platform. It's built with several attributes that enable anyone to begin automating tasks in a matter of minutes. And we'll show you how you can do that fairly shortly here. It's built on a set of complex triggers, actions, and conditional logic. It was designed for ease of use with several different capabilities in mind, such as the ability to share documents, seamless integration across Microsoft's cloud ecosystems, as we saw, connectivity to hundreds of other applications, a built-in data platform, intelligence, and extensibility to automate first and third-party scenarios. So with that, let's go ahead and let's start looking at the basics. So not only is it a robust ecosystem, but you can take advantage of a huge array of certified Microsoft partners. So we have a whole bunch of Power Automate templates or flow templates. It used to be called flow, did change names a little while ago, but all the flows are still part of Power Automate. And we have many certified templates up there on our website that you can go ahead and use to get started. It's growing every day, and it's generally a community-driven process. So while Microsoft will create new templates from time to time, we really rely on our community to take advantage of this here. So as you get going building your own Power Automate or your own Power Automate flow, and you think that you have something that others may be able to take advantage of, that others may want to use, please go ahead and get that certified and get it put up there on our website. So let's go ahead and look at the attributes of a workflow. So the workflow begins with really hundreds of triggers that you can use to initiate your workflow in whatever way is most convenient for you. This could be used with a button, basically a user action. It could be from the creation of a record. It could be on the update of a record. Really, however you want your data to be utilized, you can create a flow to take advantage of that workflow and initialize that. So once you're done with the trigger, then there are thousands of possible actions that you can take, either from assigning a record to somebody else, or performing some sort of calculation on the data, moving the data somewhere else, sharing something, what have you. The actions are really quite lengthy, and they're designed that way so that, as we mentioned, your pro developers can really offload a lot of tasks that would have been fairly complicated before, but with the advent of Power Automate and Flow are now fairly easier. Intelligent automation is another important key factor of Power Automate's workflows. So you can build workflows that leverage AI Builder, which we'll talk about next week, to process unstructured data and continually improve processes over time. You can also use Power Automate for easy collaboration and integration. So you can share workflows as easily as you share documents. You can collaborate on building workflows with other members of your team and distribute templates to other members of your organization. And of course, Power Automate works seamlessly with other Power Platform applications such as Power Apps, Power BI, and other parts of Microsoft's 3 cloud strategy like Microsoft Teams and Azure. So all that will enhance the collaboration of Power Automate. So with it, you can use to leverage the entire Power Platform. As I mentioned, it's highly integrated with all aspects of Power Platform. You can use it to invoke an AI model with specific workflows and data and an AI builder. You can embed AI into processes without the help of a data scientist. Really just point, click, easy creation of an AI model, and then you can use Flow to really take those AI model creations and distribute them to other aspects of your organization. And really, at the end of the day, you're going to use it to build robust and dynamic automations through a fairly easy to use user interface that we'll show you here shortly. You can also use it, again, to leverage key parts of Dynamics 365, whether you want to automatically request approvals, integrate with your favorite applications. There are native workflow functions inside of Dynamics 365 if you are familiar with it. And really Flow, Power Automate, brings those workflow functions outside of Dynamics and really juices them up so that they're even more powerful than they were before. And of course, being able to utilize that with Microsoft 365, you can easily insert Power Automate into Microsoft Teams to automate different various aspects that your team may have. You can use it to collect, manage, and distribute content and data using SharePoint lists and libraries. And you can even infuse apps and processes, of course, with other things like Microsoft Graph and even Azure Cognitive Services, which can be used with Power Automate to reach out to various other aspects of any other Power App that you may want to create. So with that, it's pretty easy to get going and get started fast with Power Automate. As I mentioned, we have a ton of pre-configured templates out there that you can easily use to get started on and take advantage of. and use those to eventually customize to meet your own business needs. So that review of Power Automate, let's go ahead and kick back over to Kelsey, who will give us an overview of Power Virtual Agents.
Thanks, James. Excuse me. That was great. I hope that gave you guys an overview of Power Automate, how to get started, in what use cases you'd want to use it. Usually we do a demo right now, but I think because we have our Power Automate, Power Virtual Agents, the demo works with them together. We're going to save that for the end. And so I'll go over Power Virtual Agents now. You can use Power Automate, on its own, or you can use it embedded in Power Apps. So you don't have to use it hand in hand with Power Virtual Agents. That is the demo we'll be showing today, but it is an awesome use case for it. So, and for Power Virtual Agents, it does rely a bit heavily on Power Automate for some of the actions. So with that, let's go ahead and dive into Power Virtual Agents. So as James mentioned, Power Automate is the automate feature within the Power Platform. Virtual Agents is the newest child added to the Power Platform, and it is what allows us, it allows the assist factor. So when you need assistance, from a non-human to help automate some of those business processes, you can build a bot, which will help alleviate some of that work for you. So when we talk about Power Virtual Agents, a lot of the Power Platform, we talk about empowering people, right? And that's the same with this. We want people to drive more business value so that they can easily create natural conversational AI within that virtual bot and have it be sort of an easy to use space. Chatbots are great, but they are hard to create and they're very expensive to maintain. And sometimes there's a discussion between the subject matter experts with the answers and the developers and the scientists who create them. Everyone sort of has a different area that they know. And so they can't always be useful, if you don't have the right subject matter. They also aren't as useful if they don't have that back end to provide those personalized answers, to have that AI learning on top of that bot. That's very difficult to build on top of something that you're creating from scratch. So like all of the Power Platform, we've designed something we believe can be for everyone, that can empower everyone to do more with these bots, whether it's your customers creating a bot, whether it's the subject matter experts, or it's an IT admin dev who doesn't have those pro developer skills, but they can use a graphical interface to create something as a drag and drop question answer, interface, something like that. So it empowers everybody to do more. What's great about Virtual Agents is it's built on the Power Platform, and it's also built on the bot framework out of Azure. So it has a lot of, the skills that you have within those. You can create those reusable skills within the bot framework. If you're a pro developer, you may use that bot framework. But if you're a citizen developer, maybe you want to have that nice UI, that's built on top of that bot framework. So it has that really powerful back end, but then you have that really simple, easy to use front end for you to create that bot. And you can easily integrate it with Azure Cognitive Services. Tons of APIs you can use there for machine learning, for language, for vision. And there's those, there's the connectors that you can use as well within Power Virtual Agents. So whether you made them for Power Automate, you can also use them here for Power Virtual Agents. So tons of different services that you can connect to in order to get that data and utilize that data within your bot. So how do you go about creating a new virtual agent, right? It all starts, or the first question is always, where do I start? So you can go ahead and open the Power Virtual Agents Designer. For that, you'll go to powerva.microsoft.com, and I'll show you this when we do our demo later. And you can go and create a new bot. Now, the page that's showing here, that will be your landing page when you first start, and you'll go create a new bot. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes to create, but then once you have it, you can start building on that bot. So once you have your bot, it will come out of box with 4 user topics and 8 system topics. Now, a topic is basically a flow, right? Like if someone were to go to a bot and they were to ask a question, there might be specific words within that question that triggers what we call a topic. So, for our topic, I'll show later, but we have, we're refilling a medication. So I'll pick certain trigger words that would start a topic that would allow me to create a flow, if I want to refill a medication or find out more information, then I kick off that flow and I ask them the necessary questions or do the necessary actions to do that. So I do have, like I said, out of box one, so you can get started and sort of understand what those topics are, and just to understand what the structure of it, is within that topic. I mentioned trigger phrases. So in order to start a topic, you need to have some sort of trigger word or phrase or something that lets the bot know, hey, this person is interested in this topic and they want to talk about this. For our medication refill, I might say, hey, I need a medication refill. I may need, maybe they would use different words, maybe they would use, but some sort of key words and phrases that you would want to be listening to for those triggers. Then once you have your bot and you're creating a topic, you want to open up your authoring canvas. So what shows on the right side of the screen is the canvas, which really looks like, it's like a flow. You can see there's the trigger phrases, it goes down to a message, it goes down to a question. This is the canvas where you're telling the bot what you want it to do and how you want it to respond. It's really easy to create an intelligent virtual agent. So if you want to embed AI directly in there, we do have, our simple graphical bot creation, which can help you test, maintain that bot. We've added AI directly in it, as I've mentioned, so you can extract information from user responses. You can act on those later. You can also remember those user responses. So if you want to store that information and use it, later on in other topics, or other conversations, so that you don't have to keep asking that information, you can have that stored. Now, I mentioned the variables. You can store them, for other conversations. You can also store them, for later to use with that customer again, if you want to use it in other topics. Like I said, it's a great way to use variables in order to reuse that information, so you don't have to re-ask it again and again. And another really neat feature, they call it slot filling. So what this is, like, let's say if someone asked a question, they're like, hey, I want to know about, I think the next slide actually shows something really well. So what this does is allows you to avoid repetitive conversations. If there's something you already know about the topic, I actually want to skip over this and go, further down into this topic, because I don't need to reiterate these questions. And so a good example of that would be here. We have a topic flow. Here, the person said, I'm interested in sports gear. So now it's asking a question about, okay, what kind of sports gear do you want? Here, this person said, I want to buy baseball gear. So because they said baseball, we already know what sport it's from. You can just completely skip over that and go to your other message. So, it makes it more concise and easier to use, and you're not reiterating questions. The user's like, why are you asking me this? I already told you that information. So, we can make it a smart bot so that it can skip over information it already knows. You can also add end user authentication. I know this is really important. People can authenticate from a lot of different spaces. So you can directly within that bot choose authenticate and then prompt them with, sign in to sign into that space. And what's really neat is built in, we have a test framework. So, while you're creating your bot, you can write there and then test it. As I was creating the bot for this demo, I had issues, and because I was able to test them right then and there, I was able to understand the issue right away and get it fixed, and then move on to the next topic, so that I didn't have this big thing I was building and then all of a sudden it failed and I wasn't sure where it was failing, right? It's good to test as you're creating to make sure each sort of checkpoint succeeds. And when you're done with your bot, you can publish to a demo website, and you can share with your colleagues so that they can try out the bot and you can see what it looks like. When you are fully completed with it, you can embed it within your website. You can embed it within a bunch of, multiple services so that it can be used. But it's great that you have, this demo website you can use as well. And there are a lot of analytics that come with your bot. As you can see here, there's summary, there's engagement, there's session outcomes. So these are all links that you can use to understand more about all of these charts. But there's a whole analytics page within the Power Virtual Agents website that I'll demo in a little bit. You can also use AI to have it suggest FAQ chat box topics. So it can help, understand what you're building, what you're creating, and then recommend things that it feels can help enhance the bot even more, which is really great. Having that, in-service request tool is really awesome. And so I just wanted to show this slide just to get a bit more understanding about the architecture of a bot. So if you have a CDS environment, you may not have a bot in there. Maybe you have one, but you can have multiple bots in your CDS environment. And then within a bot, you have user topics and you have system topics. Now we've out of box given you, like I said, 4 user topics and 8 system ones. The system ones are very, they're general system short topics, and I'll show them to you when I'm demoing, but it's basically like if someone were to say hello or goodbye, what do we want the system to respond with? They're very simple things that can be triggered. It's not typically like a full conversation. But then within those topics, you can have your conversation tree. So whether there's, what trigger phrases are going to start that conversation, what entities you're using, which allow the bot to understand, get more understanding on commonly used ideas, so that we can train it over time. That's where we use entities. You can also build skills. So a deeper skill that you can create, that you can save and then reuse in multiple bots, as well as the flows that you can build those flows and then you can insert them as an action within your conversation tree. And we'll show that in our demo today. But this really is just the framework of what it looks like. You have your bot, you have your topics within there. Within your topic, you have a tree. That tree has a trigger phrase and then, does a bunch of actions within there. And you'll see that as we go through the demo. So just to summarize the basics of virtual agents, right? They allow you to create a chatbot in just minutes, right? Super easy UI-based framework for you to go build a bot. And you can create a unique experience for just what you need, right? Or multiple experiences, depending on whatever topic you need to talk about. It's also part of the Power Platform, so you can leverage all of the components, whether that's Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, as well as Dynamics 365. And we're built on the Common Data Service. We've talked about this a lot of times. It's very robust. That's where your data lives. So it's built right on top of your data, and you can get that data right there within your bot. Now, if we were to look at some stuff beyond the basics, I touched a little bit on these. A few of them are more advanced, but I urge you to explore these capabilities. So the Power Virtual Agents does leverage the industry-leading AI to create intelligent virtual agents. So by that, we're just saying, we've embedded AI within these virtual agents, similar to how we've done it with Power BI and Power Apps. And, we recognize that AI is very important, that, the more that machines can do and less that humans can do, the faster rate we'll be able to learn and make better products. So by embedding that directly in there, it will keep getting better over time as you use your bot. It can also be deployed widely on multiple channels. So whatever, websites you would like to use, however you'd like to do that, there's multiple channels to do that with. And I'll show you in the demo some of the channels that they have available. You can also work with human agents. So if you want to have a virtual bot and a human bot work hand in hand to take some of that load off, but if you need to bring a human in when necessary, you can do that and make sure that's done. And then, as I mentioned before, it extends from the Microsoft Bot Framework. So if you're already familiar with Azure and all of those capabilities, I think this will be a really easy sort of switch over to it, or just understanding both. So you can do that deeper stuff within the bot framework, but also use the Citizen platform if you so choose. And then to learn more about that, I've just put some links in here so you can visit this Power Virtual Agents website to learn more. There's a demo that you can also look, as well as our demo today. There's help documentation, and the community forum is also a really great place to go ask questions, to go share how you've been using it. The more we share, the more everyone can learn from it. So a really great place to go for that. So now that we've gone over an understanding of what Power Automate and Power Virtual Agents are, let's dive into our demo that we have for you today. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up Power Virtual Agents. So what I did, I'm in an incognito window because I'm signed in as my Kelsey B at Lamna Healthcare. Now remember our series spotlight, we have the Lamna Healthcare Company, who's a modern patient care organization and is digitizing their workspace and building out a Power App. And they want to automate some of their business processes as well. So along with their Power App, they want to build a medication refill bot. So now I've gone to powerva.microsoft.com. It'll land me in what is my landing page because I've already created a bot. Now, if you hadn't created a bot yet, it would bring a pop-up page that says, hey, create your first bot. Let's give your bot a name and all of that, and then they'll go and create it. And if I click this bot up here, it shows me I can create a new bot. It takes about 15-20 minutes to create. Or, it tells me what environment I'm in. I can see the current bot that I'm selected on. So if I wanted to switch to a different bot, I could do that. I just, if I have a different bot in another environment, I can switch the environment, I can select this bot, and then I can go work on that one. But for today, I'm going to stay in our Lamna Healthcare medication request bot. So when I look at this main page, I'm already in topics, but let me go home. This is really where you would land. And I have my test bot out. I can close this if I want, but I'm going to keep it open for now. Just shows some spots you can go, whether I want to learn more about it, whether I want to, support the community and go to the forum, or whether I just want to get started. Let's check out analytics. If I have a bot and I want to publish, or hey, I just want to, go authoring some topics. So some pretty beginner steps if you want to get started. Now here's a list of topics. I told you that there were 4 that come out of box for user topics and 8 system topics. So here's what you can see. You can see those here. I'll just go into one just to kind of show you. So I'm just going to go into the goodbye one. This is what I was talking about. The system topics are very basic, but if I click on it, it brings me to this. It just tells me a little bit about it, what all the trigger phrases are, any analytics on it. But if I want to go make changes, I go to the authoring canvas here. So when I go into the authoring canvas, it'll show me that, that flow, and it just shows me all the trigger phrases. So this is really simple. All it is, hey, if one of these trigger phrases are said, just send this message to the user. So, really basic things just to make sure hey, we're saying goodbye when they say goodbye to us, Now something that's more of a user topic. So let's say this person wants to know, this is a question on, I think it says simple topic. Well, let's see what's going on in the topic. So if I go into it, I can see, the trigger phrases are when they're asking, are you closed? Are you open? And they answer with a message that says, I'm happy to help. And then they say, what time their store hours are. And then they end the conversation. So there's no follow-up questions. There's no nothing. It's a pretty basic, just I'm going to give you the hours of our store. So those are some sort of more basic ones. We'll be making a slightly more complex one today in our demo, but I'll finish just going over some of these. So here we have entities. So you can see all the entities. There's a lot of out-of-box defined entities. These really are allowing users to have natural, it's for natural language understanding, right? So we want the AI to be able to understand the user's intent. So we create these entities so that they can use them in user dialogue and different things like that. It basically represents a real world object, and the bot, it helps the bot get understanding about what these items are. So if a person mentions age, or if they mention, something, the bot knows that has to do with this entity. So you can go create your own custom entities. We have a ton out of box already. And then, as I mentioned, there's the analytics. So because I do have a bot. It's been used a little bit. So okay, there are some more analytics. Last time I checked this, there weren't any because I hadn't created a bot yet. But it's basically showing, how much it resolved, how many people abandoned it, what was the engagement of it, a bunch of analytics about your bot usage. And if I want to go publish it, I can do that right here, just with my click of a button, just publish it. And if I want to manage anything, so I mentioned the channels. Where you can configure it. So here's a bunch of different channels, that you can use and configure. Here are skills. So if I wanted to add a skill and create something that I can reuse in multiple bots, I can do that here. And then here's the authentication piece. So this is where you would want to set up all of those pieces. But for now, for our demo today, what we want to do is we have a bot. we want someone to be able to come to this bot and refill a medication request. So in that case, I want to build a new topic, which allows me to go through this flow. So what I'm going to do is I'm on topics now. I'm going to go ahead and create a new topic. So this topic, because I'm refilling medications, let's just call it medication refill. So patient to use, okay, for patient to refill medications. Okay, you can put just a small description if you want. Now here's the important part is I want to know what phrases do I want to trigger this topic. So if anyone were to come to this bot and type something to them, what do I want to trigger us asking, hey, do you want a refill of this medication? Maybe something like, maybe I have a new medication, I want a new medication. Maybe I need a refill. Some people are very just blunt, like, hey, I need a refill. Maybe they want to refill a prescription. And to be honest, these don't have to be perfect. Like if I say I need to refill a prescription, if I say, need a medication refill, because all of those words are in here, it should pick up on that. That's a good thing to look into, just like the understandings of what constitutes a trigger and what doesn't, what would bring someone into this topic, even if it weren't 100% on this trigger, what sort of items do I want to do? And I really think it's like the key words like refill, prescription, medication, those kind of words. And I think because it's called a medication request, I'm just going to go ahead and add that one too. So I've added 4, you can add a bunch more, but this really is what's going to bring us into this topic. So now that I've added my trigger phrases and given a name and description, I'm going to go ahead to the authoring canvas because I want to create my flow. So here we've landed on the authoring canvas, and you can see similar to flow. Well, I guess if you haven't seen it yet, maybe you don't know, but you will later. They have these sort of plus signs which allow you to add things. But what I see here is I see my trigger phrases, and then I see a message. So basically, the person's going to come, they're going to type something to the bot, and then the bot is going to respond with something. So what do I want? What do I want to say? I probably want to say hi, let them know who I am. And then I maybe want to ask them some information, right? I need to know information about this medication in order to get anything for them. So first I'm just going to say hello. Hello. So I am the medication request bot. Let's see. So, okay, I can help you with your refill request. How's that? So the bot's saying, hey, this is who I am and this is what I can do. There's still no human interaction yet, but I do want to ask a question, and the question is going to have a response. So it can't just be in a message. I actually want to, oh, look at there. It's the first one. I want to ask a question. So you can see I have multiple items here. I'm going to start with just the question itself. So what do I want to know? If I need to refill a medication request, I need to know what that medication request number is so that I can identify it in the system. So I'm just going to ask them, what's your number? So what is your medication request number? So then it gives me options for the answer. Do I want to give them choices? Probably not, because I don't have choices of the MRN number. Do I want a Boolean? No. Do I, what do I want? Here are all those entities I kind of talked about. So you can do entities as a response type. But I'm just going to do the user's response. So I want to take the user's entire response, and that's what I want to save then as a variable. And this variable, I'm going to rename it so it makes sense. This is the medication request number. So I'm just going to call it MRN for medication request number. It's just a text box. I think that's fine. For usage, I'm going to keep it on this topic, but let's say my bot had other topics and I wanted to be able to use this medical request number. I can have it so that, any topic can then access this variable and use that, within other topic streams that may be needed within this same conversation, because a conversation can hop between multiple topics. So, but I'm just going to leave it for the topic to keep it simple for today. So now I've asked my question, I've gotten a response from the user, and I've stored it into this variable called MRN. Okay, so now that I have this variable, I need to do something with it. What I need to do is I really need to look it up in CDS. Like I need to look in the common data service for this medical request number so that I can get the other information on that. Now, this is where Power Automate comes in because I can't access CDS directly from here. So I'm actually going to kick it off to James, who will show you how we can use Power Automate to create a flow to get that information. And then we'll bring it back to me to show you how I can embed that Power Automate flow directly within this bot. So why don't I kick this over to James for now?
All right, awesome. Thanks, Kelsey. Okay, so let me go ahead and share my screen here. Okay, here we go. All right, so as Kelsey mentioned, what we need to do right now is we need to create a flow that's going to take that medical request number that our user enters and passes into the bot as a variable, and we're going to take that and we're going to look it up in CDS. So one thing I quickly wanted to show you guys. So I logged into our Alumna Healthcare environment right here, and I just kind of want to show you what those medical requests actually look like in the model app. So right now we're inside Dynamics 365, and I'm looking at my active medication requests. And we can see we have several right here in a list, and I'm just going to open one up just to show you kind of conceptually what that data looks like. So in the back end, we have our patient who the medication request is for. We can see that it's for amoxicillin, and we see when it was authored on, the dispense quantity, number of repeats allowed. We can see that I am the practitioner, and we can also see some other information here as well. So this is kind of what we're looking at on the back end, and this is what we're going to be using Power Automate to query this specific information. So to get to Power Automate, I can just go to log into my tenant, and right on my portal, I can see Power Automate right there on the front. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click it. And this is going to take me to my main Power Automate page. So a lot of this should actually look fairly familiar to you guys. We covered a lot of these different navigation points in our very first webinar series. We talked about things like the data and the different how we can create different connections and custom connectors here. AI Builder, as I talked about earlier, can be accessed through Power Automate. So if you want to use it with our different AI models, etc. And of course, we have our flows. So first thing I'm going to do actually, and we have inside of our flows, we have all of our different templates that we have available. So you can search for templates right here. If you need something to get started, like if you want to post a message to Microsoft Teams when a new task is created in Planner. This was created by the Flow community. We also have ones that are created here by Microsoft, such as things like get today's weather forecast from my current location. You get the idea. So up here we have our different flows, team flows, meaning flows that are shared amongst members of your teams, business process flows, and also UI flows, which are also known as robotic process automation. These are a little bit more entangled with a lot of different things, but these are also really cool as well. But for what we're doing right here with this Power Virtual Agent, first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to Solutions. So your flows, in order for them to be recognized by Power Virtual Agents, they have to be housed inside of a solution. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to name this solution PVA Demo. For my publisher, I'm just going to click the CDS default publisher, and this will be my version 1.0. Okay, so this should create my solution. There it is right there. And now that going, I'm ready to get started creating my flow. So I'm going to go up to New. And I'm going to go to flow right here. You see, you have a lot of different options right here. I could do any number of things I can create inside this thing, but I don't have time to go through them all right now. So I'm just simply going to go to flow. So I mentioned before, flow can be triggered by any number of things, and that's what we want to specify right here. What caused this flow to kick off? And there's any different number of things. It could be a button. It could be something happened inside of the common data service. Maybe something happened in Gmail, Microsoft Teams. You get the idea. But in this particular case, I want to go ahead and do something when Power Virtual Agents calls a flow. So right there, I'm beginning my flow, and I can begin my input. So Kelsey set up a variable for me called MRN, and that's actually going to be a string, I believe. So I'm going to choose text field. I also have the option to choose either a yes/no answer or a number. So I'm going to go ahead and choose text. And I'm going to rename this from input to something a little bit more specific, and I'm going to call it MRN. Okay, so right there, I'm declaring now I need to go ahead and initialize my variable. So MRN comes in, so now I need to go ahead and start and initialize my variable. I can go ahead and just do that by typing in initialize variable. All right, so there's my action. So this is going to be the variable that I'm going to send back to Kelsey and Power Virtual Agent. So I'm going to go ahead and title this as return MRN. And I'm going to send this back as a string. And just in case the user typed in something that was wrong, or they fat fingered something, I'm going to type in a default response of no results found for medical request number, and then I'll give them that MRN back. Okay. Now I can go ahead and add a new step, and now this is where I'm going to want to go ahead and go into CDS and look up my information. So I can click CDS right here, and I have a couple of different options. So two of these being get record or list records. So get record works in such a way that if I were to click on it right here, you can specify the environment, which is cool. We have that. You can specify the entity, which is cool, but you also have to specify the item identifier, and this would be the primary key for the record inside CDS, and we actually don't have that. So if I go into Power Apps, I can see my entities right here, and I see medication request. If I open that up, I can see my fields, and once the fields loads, I can see all the different fields on top of it, and I can see the name of the database name of it, the data type. If I scroll down, I can see the primary field is actually name. So that's MSEMR_name. That's not what we're looking up. We're actually looking up medication request number right here. Okay, so if I go back to my flow, this is not actually what I want. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to list records. So for list records, I'm going to specify my environment, and it's going to be my current environment. And I'm going to find my medication request entity here. Once that loads, there we go. All right, so we'll scroll down here, and there we go. There it is. So next, we're going to want to show the advanced options. So inside of the advanced options, we can see we actually have this filter query right here where we can use OData to find the record that we want. And in using the OData, we need to use the database name of the field that we're looking up. So, and I actually have that right here. So if I go back to my medication request entity, I see my medication request number, and there's my database name. So I'm just going to copy this, go back over my flow. I'll paste that right here, and I'm going to do space, I'm going to type in equal EQ, and then in single quotes inside of that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give it the MRN variable that I got from Power Virtual Agents. Okay. I don't need to order anything because I'm only getting one record, and I can actually specify this right here. So I just want one. So this is just going to be return one value, which I expect because each one of these medication request numbers are unique. Okay, so that gives me everything I need for trying to find everything from CDS. So I can go ahead and get my new step right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and apply this to each. So we're going to select the variable from the previous step. All right. So we actually want to set the variable. I'm sorry. So we're going to go ahead and set variable. If I can spell it right. All right, set variable. There we go. Okay, so this is going to be our return MRN, and the variable value. This is going to simply be our value. Okay. And then from there, we can go ahead and actually we need to go ahead inside here. We need to set the variable. So inside of our value, we actually want our we actually also need to do a couple of other things. So we need to get our practitioner. So we will go ahead and look up inside of CDS right here. Let's delete this. There we go. So let's get a record. All right. So we want to look up and we want to find the, we want to get the practitioner. So if I go scroll down here to contacts, the item identifier is the value. Okay. Where's my practitioner? There we go. All right. Okay, so we notice that it's applying to each because it's a list of records, even though we're only getting one record back from our query, but you see that right here. So once we have our get practitioner, now we're going to set the variable for each one of these. So we have our set variable. Perfect. Okay, so this is going to be our return MRN, and then this is going to be basically the string that we're going to be passing back to Power Virtual Agent. So, for instance, like when you type the question into the chatbot, this is what the chatbot is going to return, right? In a fairly chatty type of answer, for lack of a better word. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to say your prescription for, and then we'll use our dynamic content over here to grab the information from CDS. So I want the name of the all right, so this is the full name of the medication request. Okay, your prescription from. Description from is in our records. Okay, so with that, you should also be able to grab the medication request number. So, okay, in our records, it was you were given a quantity, and then I know these fields from having looked at the record inside of Dynamics 365, so I can just go ahead and search for them here. So I need my dispense request quantity with cool. All right. So that's giving me really all the information I need and everything I want to send back to CDS or to Power Virtual Agent. So I'll do one more step here. And I'm going to return the values to Power Virtual Agents. So and I'm going to go ahead and add my output, which is text. And this is going to be my MRN. And this will be my return MRN variable right here. Okay, so that's it. So I can go ahead and I can save this. Not as untitled. Let's actually give it a real name. Here, so let's actually title this demo get medical request number. All right, cool. So just quick review. So we started out this flow with a trigger of when a Power Virtual Agent calls a flow. From there, we brought in the string that is being passed to us from the virtual bot. We went ahead and we initialized a variable. So this is basically our return variable that we're going to be sending back. We got our list of records from CDS using OData. We were able to query using the MSDM or MSEMR identifier equals what we got in from PVA. We're doing a top count of 1 because we only want 1 record to come back. And then to each of those, we're getting a record. So we're going to look up, we wanted to get the practitioner that's specified on that record. So if I go back into Dynamics 365, we can see we looked up, we got our medication request record right here, but I also want to grab information about the practitioner. So I can do another get record and I can look up to this particular James Bamford record as well, and that's going to get me some other information that I'm going to use later, actually. I'm setting my variable, so this is my return MRN, and then this is what I'm displaying to the user. I'm saying your prescription from my practitioner, the full name, is in our records. It was authored on a specific date, and you were given a quantity of this and that. So that should hopefully give the user everything they need to know about the record. Actually, I'm going to give it one more piece of information here. So you're given a quantity. We'll say 4, and then All right, so that's what we're saying back, and this is how we are sending it back. So I'm going to click save one more time. And always one more time, because I'm always nervous about that when I get that message, but I'm sure it's fine. And we're okay. All right, so here we have my flow. I can see after it's been created, I can do a couple things with it. You know, I can test it, I can run it, I can share it with other members of my team. I can do a save as if I wanted to copy it. And most importantly, I can also turn it on and off. I can see here that it's already on. So that means that it should be ready to go once Power Virtual Agents gives it a call. So with that, I'm going to stop talking and I will kick it back over to Kelsey.
Thanks, James. That was great. I hope you guys learned about how to create a Power Automate flow. So now that we have that flow created, which takes in the MR record, I'm going to first share my screen. Okay, so we're landing back where we were before. Here I was in my Power Virtual Agents website. I'm in my medication request bot. I'm in my topic. So this is where we left off before, where we had the trigger phrase. I had the message sending to the user saying, hey, I'm your medication request bot. I can help you, asking what the medication request number is. And then we created that flow. So now that the flow is created and we have the medication request number, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call an action. So anytime you want to embed a flow into your Power Virtual Agent bot, you want to call an action. So when I click call an action, it'll pop out all the available flows to me. And I can see here, he called it demo get medical request numbers. So this is the flow James just created. I'm going to go ahead and select that flow, and you can see it fills in my action. So it tells me, hey, this Power Automate input is getting this MRN text from, and it wants to know where. So I'm like, hey, yeah, give it the MRN variable that I created. And then it's going to run its flow, and it's going to give me an output called return MRN text. So, you know, to me, this is, I guess you can look at details, just looking at this kind of a black box. But because James wrote the flow, I know exactly what happens within that flow. And if I were to click flow details, you know, it opens that up, and then I can go in and look at the flow live if I want to. So now that we have that information, now I basically want to display that to the user. Okay, we got the information about the medical request number. Let's display it to them to see if they want to refill it, right? So I'm going to first, I think I want to show a message. So first I just want to show them a message, which literally just shows them this variable. So if I click this X within the curly brackets, that's me allowing to insert a variable. So I'm going to click that return MRN. Now this is what they gave me. This is what my flow has returned. So I'm going to just show them the information that's returned, which, you know, we know is the name of the medication, the practitioner, when it was authored, the refill. Okay, now we want to know, hey, do you want a refill of this prescription, basically? So I'm going to go ahead and ask another question. So really what I just asked. So let's see, would you like to request a refill for this medication? So now, you know, I'm asking a question that has two and only two answers. There's a yes and a no. So instead of just taking customer input, because they could put in, you know, Y and N, and I'd have to figure out what all that is, I actually want to give them choices. So I'm going to go ahead and choose multiple choice options. And then I'm going to put in the options I want to give them. So for this, it's really just quite a simple yes. I want to add a new option, and I'm going to put no. So now we have two options, and you can see when you go down into here that it separates into conditions. Now, one thing I do want to save this as with a proper name. I don't really, you know, it's good practice to name your variables and name things that you're putting in here so that you understand what's going on and what all the variables mean. So I want to save this. What is this? This is the response is really like the user response. So maybe I just call it like user refill response. Okay, so that's the response on whether they want to refill the prescription or not. So now that we have that, I want to answer both conditions. Now I'm going to start with the easy one. If they say no, you know, there's pretty much nothing else for us to do. They gave us a medical request number, we gave them the information, they realized, oh, maybe this is the wrong one, oh, maybe I don't have, you know, I don't need a refill yet. But, you know, there's a chance that they could say no. So if they say no, we really just want to sort of thank them and end the conversation. So if they say no, I'm just going to show a message that thanks them, which is like, okay, thank you for using the medication request bot, you know, have a nice day, because they're a friendly bot, so we want them to be friendly. Okay, and then when you are done with with one of the outcomes, you want to make sure to end the conversation. So whether or not you want to transfer them to an agent, or if you just want to end with a survey, you know, asking how their experience was, I'm just going to go ahead and end it with a survey. So in the case that they say no, our flow is complete. Now, if they say yes, there's more work for us to do. So if they say yes, we want to refill this medication, we need to go ahead and tell the practitioner, hey, this patient would like to do another medication request. We need you to complete this refill request. So with that, you know, in order to contact the patient or the practitioner, we're going to have to do a flow again. So we'll want to create another flow within Power Automate that will send an email to the practitioner if the user is requesting for a medication refill. So because I can't add that action yet, I'll kick it back over to James, who will show you the second flow that we'll create to send that email to the practitioner.
All right, thank you, Kelsey. Let me go ahead and share my screen again. All right, and here we are. Okay, cool. All right, so yeah, so as Kelsey mentioned, we need to create one more flow in our bot that's going to actually contact the practitioner and let them know that their patient is requesting a refill. So the cool part about this is we've already done a good bit of the work here with this first flow. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click into it. And I am going to go up here to save as, and I'm going to call this demo. Send medical request refill to practitioner. Pretty sure I spelled that right. Okay, good. So let's save this. So this way we can kind of utilize a lot of the work that we've already done. All right, so I'm going to close this. I'm going to go back in my solution, and I'm going to add an existing flow from outside my solutions. This is the one I just created. So we'll add that. All right, so we can see that added to my solution. Again, this is important because virtual agents will not recognize the flow if it is not inside of a solution. All right, so let's go ahead and let's open this and let's start editing. Okay, so a lot of this we can keep. So again, we already have the medical request number that the patient provided us. So we can keep all that stuff. We have the records inside of CDS we've already queried, so we can keep all that stuff. Really what we want to do is, instead of returning a value Power Virtual Agents, is really we just want to send an email. So I can go ahead and I can delete this step right here at the very end. Let's open up the apply to each right here. And let's go ahead and let's do one more thing right here. So in this one, I got the practitioner record. So one thing I did not do, you should always do, is figure out is rename things so you know what they mean. So I'm going to call this get practitioner. And I'm going to do one more lookup here. So I'm going to add an action. I'm going to get a record. And again, this is going to be my current environment. And this is also going to be my contact as well. So scroll down to contact. Inside of contact, I'm going to get my patient information. Cool. And the item identifier for this is going to come from my medication request. And you can see here that my contact, otherwise known as my patient, is denoted here by subject type patient. So if I go here, I search for subject type patient, it is going to give me the information that I need. All right, so here we got our practitioner. That's got being retrieved by our practitioner field right here. We have our subject type. We have our patient, which is being retrieved by our subject type patient. So let's go ahead and make these smaller. All right, now here, instead of setting the variable, which I don't need to do, go ahead and delete that. Here, I actually just want to send an email to my practitioner. So I'm going to type in send email. And I see my send email option right here, so I'm going to click that. And now I can go ahead and I can begin building my email. So here, I'm going to send this to the practitioner. So if I go back into my into the Common Data Service, I can take a look at what's going to be required to do that. So I'm going to open up my practitioner, which is me. I'm going to see a bunch of different fields right here, but the one that I really want is this email field right here, because this has my email address. So if I go back into my flow, I'm going to add dynamic content in here. I'm going to search for email. And this is going to get me the email I want to get from the practitioner. So I can see that under get practitioner. Again, always a good idea to properly name what you're doing. And then in the subject, I'm going to specify the name of my patient. So I want the full name of the patient. So if I go back here to my medication request, we can see here, I want this name right here. So and this is going to be full name. So if I go ahead and I type in full name, again, I did not rename it correctly, but I know this is from my patient, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do this right here. Okay, so and so is requesting a refill of their prescription. And now I can begin building the body of my email. So I can say something like, hello, Dr. So-and-so. So we'll say hello, full name, and this will be from our practitioner. And we'll say things like, we have received a request to refill the following medication. And this is where we can do things like provide the doctor with some, some good information to let them know exactly what they need. So I have this on another screen here, so I'm just gonna, for the sake of time, I'm gonna go ahead and copy and paste this in here. So we want the medication request number. We want the medication. We want the quantity. And we also want the current refill number. All right, so we're going to give all this information to the practitioner in the email, and then we'll close the email with a salutation. Okay, so now let's go ahead and go back to our dynamic content here, and let's start looking this stuff up. So we can type in medication. If I typed it right, request number, medication. This is going to be name. And that is under the very bottom here, I believe, somewhere. There we go, under our list of records. And under quantity. And then our refill, and I believe this is called repeats. Yeah, repeats. So we'll look for repeats. There we go. Okay, cool. And that is it. So we have our email. So again, just as a review, so we're utilizing that same variable that we had at the beginning from Power Virtual Agents, where we got the medication request number. We kept everything we had before. We're then using that list to grab the practitioner that's associated with the medication request. We're also grabbing the patient, which is associated with the medication request right here. And then we're going to send an email. So we have all these variables that we grabbed from those records in CDS, and we were able to populate them inside of the email dynamically. So now I'm ready to go ahead and save this. All right. And then if I go back to my flow right here, one thing that we want to remember to do, especially for an email flow, is we want to remember to actually turn it on. So I will go ahead and turn this on. That should take a second. There we go. So it's switched. So it's live. So if I wanted to turn it off, then I would click turn off right here. So now we are ready to go ahead and run our chatbot from start to finish. So I will kick it back over to Kelsey.
Thanks, James. Looks awesome. So now we have our Power Automate flow running. Sorry. Okay, sharing my screen now. Okay, so now we're landed back in our Power Virtual Agent bot that we were working on. We were working on the yes condition. So the reason, we paused is because James was going to build a flow which allowed us to email the practitioner, letting them know that the patient wants to request a refill for a specific medication. So now that we have that flow created, I can go ahead and call an action again to get that flow and put it directly in this bot. So while this loads, let's see, the one I'm looking for is this demo, send medical request refill to practitioner. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. It shows me that, it's getting this input value. So we want to make sure to pass in that text again. So I think that was the MRN, the original MRN that the user had typed in. It's going to go ahead and give a flow. There's no output. The output is basically the sending of the email. So in order to verify, we'll just make sure that that email was sent. And then I can go ahead and I think end the conversation, because once that's gone through, our time with this bot is done. I probably actually want to maybe say something like, your request has been submitted for medication, and then I can, put in the proper medication. So thank you. And then if I wanted to ask, if there's anything else I can do, because then if it asks more questions and other triggers are sent, you know, we can kick it off to other topics. You can do other things. There was an interesting question I saw. So when you go to end the conversation, you only see end with survey or transfer to agent. And so if people don't want a survey or they don't want to transfer, you know, do we have to end the conversation? And I guess for me, I've always ended conversations. I just have assumed like a survey is helpful, you know, that goes into the analytics of your bot, and you want to know that information. But I'm just going to take this one off just to see what happens if we don't have an end conversation, right? Because if you don't want a survey, if you just sort of want it to end, if you want to kick it off somewhere else, you should be able to do those actions. So I'm going to see what happens. Don't usually do that in a demo, but it should be fun. So before I go testing, I want to make sure to save my bot. So I have everything I want. I have my trigger phrase, you know, welcome, asking for the MRN, getting that information from Power Automate flow, you know, showing them that message, asking if they want the refill, you know, yes or no. And then, you know, if they do, send that email. If they don't, just thank them and end the conversation. So I'm going to go ahead and save. And then this test bot is where I can go ahead and do what it says, test my bot right here. So what do I want to do? I want to refill my prescription. So I think it's just resetting on itself. Okay, so let's say, okay, I want to say medication refill, please. So I'm talking to my bot. I've just asked for a refill. Oh, so because it didn't recognize it, you know, because it didn't totally trigger, it noticed that it was similar to other things. Oh, but it's interesting. It's actually showing me my different bots. So let me actually do a different one instead. So I'll just do medication request. I could select one of these and it would choose that bot, but I'm going to do it based off the trigger phrase. So if I do medication request, okay, now it's kicked it off. It says, hello, I'm the medication request bot. I can help you with a request refill. What is your medication request number? So here they're asking me for my MRN number. I've got one right here next to me. So I'm just going to type this one in, 57012. So this is the prescription I have, you know, that I want to refill. So I put in the medical request number. It's running its flow. It got that information from CDS. It brought it back to me in this paragraph form. You know, the flow put in all that information. This is the practitioner. So your prescription from Kelsey, it's me, the practitioner, was in the records. It was authored. You know, it gives me the date it was authored. It tells me what quantity and how many refills that I have available for that. So it's asking if I want to refill, and it looks like I have one left available. So yes, I do want a refill of that. So I'm going to click yes. And when I click yes, it says, okay, it's been submitted, thank you, and then asks if, you know, that answered the question. So I heard a little ding, which means that I believe I got an email. So let's go ahead and check my email box and see that, oh, well, look at here. Hello, Kelsey Bloomquist. We have received a request to refill the following medication. So, you know, it got all that information from CDS. This flow put it in this nice format that James had done within that Power Automate flow. And then it sent me that email, you know, from that Power Virtual Agent. So that's really neat. It's now told the practitioner, hey, we need a refill on that. Then they can go follow up, and then that person can get their medication refill. Now I'm just going to say, yes, okay, that answered my question. Now this information goes to the analytics. You know, I had an excellent experience. That was great. Thank you. No, nothing further to help. So this was sort of like the auto survey that they have. Now I'm just going to go through and I'm going to do that no side. So let's just do this one more time. And I'm going to say I need a refill. Okay. Oh, that's interesting because that's actually a trigger phrase. Oh, you know why? Because I have a demo one that does the same trigger. So this is interesting because someone else also had a question like, hey, what if there's multiple topics that have to do with this trigger? So it looks like it actually gives you, you know, the multiple. They don't all have great names because when we were demoing and testing, that's what we named them. But, you know, I also had a medication refill. That's this one. So I want to do the medication refill. I'm just going to select that because I know. But that's an answer for, you know, if there's multiple triggers that are the same. So now I'm going to put in a different medical request number. let's see, got, we're on 75049. Okay, there's my medication. So now this, the practitioner is James Bamford and gives me that information, but I don't want a refill. So I'm going to say, oh no, that was the wrong one. I'm good. Thanks. So it just says, thank you. Have a nice day. And it ends the conversation. So, you know, now it was fine. You know, if I didn't end the conversation, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to have a survey. You don't have to transfer to an agent. The survey was nice. It kind of had additional questions, you know, making sure all their questions were answered and that they were helpful in getting that analytics. But if you just sort of want to end the bot, you're good to go. You can do that too. So a good test to see what would happen, and I hope that answered the question for the person in the chat. But there we are. We have our bot, which allows patients to come and ask for a refill of a medication. If, you know, when they do, it then sends to the practitioner, automatically sending an email. And now the practitioner can follow up accordingly to make sure that that patient gets that medication refill. So I hope that was helpful. This is a great example of how you can use a bot, you know, within, I could embed this directly in my, you know, hospital app that I have within Power Apps if I want. You know, the patient can come to the Power App, look at all their medical information, and then talk to a bot if they want to do more things, such as refill a medication request. You can also, you know, maybe book appointments or things like that. So other topics that patients can use within that bot. So let me just bring up the PowerPoint one last time. Just a summary of what we did today. So today we talked about, you know, how to automate business processes within the Power Platform using Power Automate and Power Virtual Agents. We went over how to create a flow to quickly begin that automation process, whether that's, you know, sending an email or whether that's getting information from CDS and kicking it back over the virtual agent. We talked about Power Virtual Agents to do really cool stuff. I can see, you know, I updated that slide real well. But yeah, I mean, there is really awesome things that the bots can do to really alleviate that stress off of, you know, the human in the loop and automate things as well as possible. And then we showed how we can use those two put together, you know, both virtual agents and Power Automate to create an automated workflow that's really helpful in a real world scenario. You know, if you were a patient and needed a medication refill, which, you know, I do that, you know, multiple months out of the year, and this is a similar experience that I do, but I have to do it through the phone. I would actually rather be able to do it, you know, through a virtual bot, so I don't have to sit there waiting and listening out when I know all I need to do is enter in certain numbers. So for next week, we'll be talking about enriching our business data. So we'll be diving deeper into AI Builder and how you can use that embedded directly in Power Apps to get, you know, artificial intelligence insights. And we'll be going into Power BI and how you can model your data and create visualizations and then share that with your team in the service. So I know we only have about a minute left. There were some questions we've been answering throughout the webinar, but let's see if there's any other questions that sort of popped up. James, do you see any that we can look to answer for them today?
Yeah. So let me go ahead and take a look here. Someone asked, why not just call this Power Bots instead of Power Virtual Agents? That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that one, but that's something we can definitely pass back on to the team. Let's see here. So some of the published ones that we've looked at thus far, you know, can you use Power Virtual Agents with Power Apps? The answer is yes. So you can create a Power Apps portal, and then you can embed your Power Virtual Agent bot inside of that portal. So if you remember last week when we talked about the 3 different types of Power Apps, one being the model-driven app, otherwise known as Dynamics 365, which is more data-driven. We have our Canvas apps, which we spent most of our time in last week, building that pop-up and also the navigation system. And then the third will be the portal, which is a way in which we can get external users, i.e. people who do not have a license for CDS, to be able to interact with their data. So being able to install a Power Virtual Agent inside the Power Apps portal is a great way to do that. And you can also install PVA and a wide variety of other Microsoft items as well. You can put it in Teams, you can put it, it also works with Facebook channels and things like that. So it's fairly versatile, and yeah, we definitely hope you check it out after this session. Kelsey, do you see any questions that you'd like to address?
So a couple of the ones that, popped out to me were the ones I tried to do in the demo. So, what if we don't end a conversation? What happens? It looks like, it kind of just ends altogether. The survey and the transfer to an agent are just nice to haves in that end conversation. And they're just saying we're ending this virtual conversation, but it will continue elsewhere. Let's see. So, oh yeah, and then the other one where is like, your trigger phrases. What if it's associated with more than one topic? So we noticed that then the topics were brought up and the user would have to, choose those a little bit better. So there's probably worth diving deeper in on that. But unfortunately, I don't know more about that at the time. I don't know. I think the general ones, we've done a good job answering.
Yep, I agree. Cool. All right. Well, then I guess we'll go ahead and probably sign off for the day. So thank you everyone for taking the time to be with us today. We really hope that you got a lot out of this session and learned how you can use Power Automate and Power Virtual Agents to automate your business processes. And of course, if you need to look up or find any of the bits that we use for the session today, we'll have those posted on GitHub. Yeah, for me, thanks everyone for participating. Thanks for coming.
Great, thanks James. And I just also want to thank everyone for being here for the third session on Power Automate and Power Virtual Agents. Looking forward to next week's on AI Builder and Power BI. There's a ton you can do with those. So really looking forward to that and sort of wrapping up our 4-part series. Again, thanks so much to everyone for coming. We hope you enjoyed and learned a lot today. So we'll see you again next year. Or, sorry, see you again next week.
Hopefully we'll see you next week too for the second series.
Yes, all right. Bye everyone, have a great week.
Bye.